Hi guys, I just got back from the staff meeting. I'm just going to load my stuff, but the internet is really slow here. So hopefully we'll start on time. I know I've got 4 minutes left. I'll be back. Okay guys, we'll get underway here right away. Sorry about that. I'm hoping you can hear me now. Can you guys put your hands down and put them back up if you can hear me? Okay, lots of you able to hear me, so hopefully it's all of you. Lexi, so you know I told you I would let you know this afternoon. We did page 131 to 4, so that's what you can do for homework when you miss class today. And also number 6 was the key question, and it's super tricky. So you should know that on the left-hand side where the words are, it is not asking you to do the same thing as the expression on the right-hand side. So if you have problems, just come by tomorrow and ask me, okay? I'm glad you guys can hear me. Today we're going to be working on, I did my audio setup wizard. I know, something went wrong with my computer and it all of a sudden said I was teleconferencing and I don't know where that came from. So I thought it'd be better if I just quit and came back on. So today we're going to be working on changing fractions into decimals. And I didn't get a chance to proofread much of my PowerPoint because we had to go to a staff meeting. So there could be occasional spelling mistake here today, and I apologize ahead of time for missing letters and things for them. When I'm typing fast, I'm a terrible typist. So today we're changing fractions into decimals. There's an S I missed right there. And this is a lot easier than people think, all right? So it's particularly easy if the fractions are out of 100, 10, 1,000, all right? Yeah, you were right, Shama, thank you. Okay, so just a second, I'm just going back. Someone said they didn't know teachers knew BRB. I text a fair bit because I've got, a phone. All right, so here we go. So changing fractions into decimals are easy if the fraction's out of 10, 100, or 1,000. So in that case, if it's a base 10 kind of fraction, then you can use the rule of the case that the number of zeros is the number of decimal places. So if a fraction is out of 10, the decimal will have 1 decimal place. If the fraction is out of 100, the decimal will have 2 decimal places. And if the fraction is out of 1,000, then the fraction will have 3 decimal places. So you can see that I've given you some examples below the rule. For example, 1/10 equals decimal 1. Because when you think about it, the first place after the decimal is the 10th place. 25 100ths, well, we know that the second place behind the decimal is the hundredth. So that would be decimal 25. And that is 25 hundredths. And the third one I've got as an example there is 354 1,000ths. So we can see that 350, decimal 354 has 3 places, and 1,000 has 3 zeros. So it's just a little trick. It's more of a memory trick. I mean, it makes sense to us because we know that the decimal places are tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. But just keeping in mind that that's the way that you should be checking your work. Now, it gets a little tricky sometimes. So 9 out of 100 actually should be 2 decimal places. So put into the chat, let me know what you think in the chat. Would it be 0.9 or 0.09? So quickly just give me your answer in the chat. Seeing lots of 0.09s coming by. Good. Excellent. All right, it is decimal 09. All right, so this is going to work when you've got a one-digit numerator, and then the denominator is hundredths. So it would be decimal 09. Because when you think about 90, that actually tells us that it is 90 out of 100, or 9 out of 10. All right. 39 out of 1,000. That's to 3 decimal places. Decimal 039 or decimal 39. Lexi and Stephen got it right away. Fast typers. Sarah's got it. That's excellent news. So in that case, it would be decimal 039, because if we think about decimal 39, what we're going to see there, I'm going to use my horrible pen. Here we go. Decimal 39. If I remember my rule about annexing zeros, I can put another 0 there. So decimal 39 would actually be 391 thousandths, not 39. All right? So that's a way to remember that. Good. Any questions before we move on? Any questions before we move on? So these are pretty easy. So if your fraction ends up being 10, 100, or 1,000, or if you can change the fraction easily into something out of 10, 100, or 1,000. So for example, if you have a fraction out of 50, double it and turn it into a fraction out of 100. If you have a fraction out of, I don't know, 25, again, multiply the top and bottom by 4. You've got a fraction out of 100, and your decimal is easy to get. So for the easy ones, no big deal. But, of course, not all fractions are, unfortunately, out of 10 or 100 or 1,000. Oh, I'm sorry that my hand is up. Thank you, Aubrey. I'm going to take that down. All right. So when you are figuring out a fraction, the easiest way, and you can use your calculator most times for this because we're not checking about whether you know how to divide, but you can use your calculator and you divide the numerator by the denominator. All right. So you can see here that I've got 4 9s and 3 8s. And you're going to find that your 1 over 9 will create a repeating decimal. So everybody grab your calculator. I know that I always put on there to remember to bring a calculator to class. And do 4 divided by 9. Somebody tell me what they got. Well, right away, William tells us that he got decimal 4 repeated. So there you go, the very first, and we got a lot of 4s. Now, it'll be interesting to see because we're going to talk about your calculators in a little bit. Some of them do something a little funky when it comes to repeating decimals when they run out of space for them, but we'll talk about that in a minute. All right, let's try 3 divided by 8. Oh, man, read's fast. I didn't even get to do it, man, read. It's not 3 divided by. There's more than one. There is more than one digit. There we go. There's more than one digit. That's right, Stephen and William have it. It's decimal 375. So we don't round in these cases, and that's really important. The decimal you get is the decimal that should be written down. We are not going to round unless it's really long or repeating, okay? But when we're doing 3 divided by 8, we should get decimal 375 on our calculator. All right. So remember how when we were doing dividing before, some of you were confused. So I'm going to put a number in here, 3 divided by 8. Okay? So the number 3 is the one that we're dividing. And the number 8 is the one we're dividing by. So don't do it backwards. Always put the 3 underneath the division sign or the 3 into the calculator first. Okay? It's in the chat, Aubrey. Okay. Fractions that are over 9 will always create a repeating decimal. So that's an important thing to remember. Fractions that are over 9 will always create a repeating decimal. All right? And we'll talk about that a little bit in class because I think that it's not that big a deal, but we have to remember. Try these on your calculator and message me the answer to one of them. 4 over 9, 8 over 9, 33 over 99, or 4 out of 21. All right, so quickly just grab your calculator and do one of those. This won't be a long class today. Good. Now, Aubrey, was yours point for just once or a whole bunch of times? Good, I've seen that William's doing lots of them. William, you've got the calculator. William's got the calculator. It's okay, I'm going to explain that to you in a minute, what I meant by William's got that calculator. There's 2 ways that your calculator deals with this. William is the calculator. Okay. So hopefully most of you have got a calculator with you. Try and bring your calculator to the class or bring your phone and use that as a calculator. All right? So the interesting thing is how your calculator deals with the fact that this is a repeating decimal. All right? So let's do the 4 over 21. Yep, 4 divided by 9 is decimal 4, but it should be a whole bunch. All right? So 4 over 21 comes out to decimal 19047619. All right, and it shows a little F above, and that function means that it's not finished. That was not a terminating or finishing decimal. This is a repeating decimal because as soon as you get 2 numbers that are the same, you know the same thing's going to happen when you divide. Now, some of your calculators will show that when you do 4 divided by 9, and if you've got yours there, just do it now and put it up. It will just show a bunch of 4s with an F above, which means that that is not a terminating decimal, it's repeating. Some of you, though, when you do 8 divided by 9, you will get 8s all the way across, and then you will get a 9 at the end. So what it's doing is essentially rounding that last one up or leaving it the same. So in some of your calculators, you will see that it was 8s all the way across and a 9 at the end. That is your calculator rounding. That is still a repeating decimal. So it wouldn't be the case that it would give you all 8s and then all of a sudden you would run into the case of the 9. Every time you came up, it should be doing exactly the same division. Any questions about that? All right, so if your calculator is one of the calculators, and it looks like William has one that does, when he did his 4s, it came up with a 9 at the end. All right? So I'm seeing a few of those. I'm just going along and looking. Yeah, Williams does that. So he had the 899. All right? Good. So, Aubrey, can you tell me what's confusing you? Because what we're doing is 2 things. We're either changing our fraction to a decimal because it was out of 10, 100, or 1,000. 4 divided by 9 should give you 4 repeating. So maybe you should bring your calculator in to me tomorrow and let me know. We'll take a little look at that. I want to move on because I want to try and get people offline as quickly as possible. So I'm going to move on to the next page. Here's the homework, and I want you to write each fraction as a decimal, and you have to do 2 this time. All right? So, and I want you to remember how we show a repeating decimal. Just 2. All right? So the first one is 4 divided by 5. And you certainly do not have to use your calculator, folks. I'm just saying that for lots of you, rather than struggling with the division, I want you to know how to change a fraction into a decimal. And I don't want you struggling to get it right because you don't know how to do, you don't have your times tables down. And I know there's a great number of you that's still struggling with knowing your times tables. You don't have to trust them, Shama, but if for some people it's just easier. right? Let's take a look at that very last one. And you guys are forgetting that you can use your microphones as well. The very last one, 4 to 25. What would be the easiest way of dealing with that one? Does anybody want to chime in and tell me?
4 divided by 25. Or 25 divided by 4.
4 divided by 20. No, it's 4 divided by 25. You're right,
Okay.
Zach. Was there another way we could do that one? That we could do?
So all these questions, you can just do it like long division style?
Sure you can if you want to. It's good practice. But 4 divided by 25, you could change that into a fraction over 100 pretty easily. What would you do? Anybody want to jump in? Stephen, tell us.
You can multiply it by 4.
Yeah, you multiply the top and bottom of the fraction by 4, getting an equivalent fraction out of 100. What would our equivalent fraction be?
100.
The bottom would be 100. What would the top be? Well, man, Reed's got it. She's fast.
16.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm going to put, so I'm going to put up here the fraction 4. I'm just going to, if you've got your questions and you're fine, off you go. I'm going to write the fraction 4 to 9 here. Oh, and I'm going to do a lousy job again. Sorry, guys. It is a little better. So that's going to equal 0.4, repeating. And this is what I wanted you to remember. You can do this one of two ways. So I've got my decimal 4 here, so now I realize it's going to work, that it's a repeating decimal. Number one way I can show a repeating decimal is to put a line over the digits that repeat. The second way is to do this. And of course your dots will be a lot straighter than mine. Two ways to show a repeating decimal. The first is with a line over the numbers that repeat. And the second is with dots behind. Okay? I'm trying to find my phone to stop this stupid thing. All right? So those are the two ways we show a repeating decimal. So fractions to decimals is a pretty easy concept. And if you want to write down your two questions there. Now, is there anybody that needs anything cleared up? Is there anybody that needs anything cleared up? If you do, just type me a question. Or come on with your audio.
How do we show a repeating decimal at the bottom as well?
Yeah, so that was the question I was showing you. It's just reminding you that the repeating decimal, you put the bar over the numbers that repeat or the dots afterwards, okay?
Oh, all right,
so
2 questions, and how do we show a repeating decimal?
No, I just wanted to make sure you remembered that. You don't have to do that bottom one. Just 2 of the fractions into decimals. Yep, it's really not hard, Lexi. You divide the first number, the top number, by the bottom. Thank goodness this is an easier math, eh? We deserve a day off. So Kai, what we're doing is we're changing fractions into decimals. Okay? Fine, Henry. So if you missed the beginning of the class, you can either re-listen to the class or you can come and see me because I don't want to make everybody have to listen to the beginning of the lesson twice. Bye, Stephen. Have a good night. Oh, that's okay, Aubrey. You can come in and see me in the morning if you're still confused. I think it will get cleared up really quickly. You just divide the first number by the second number. Bye, Jasmine. I hope you're feeling better. The first number, I shall see you tomorrow then, Shalma. Bye, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. The first one would be decimal 8, and you are doing it right, Aubrey. So all you're taking is the 4 and dividing it by 5. Yay! So you okay now? Do you understand what you're doing? Terrific. Sign off then, please. Have a good night. I'm glad you got it in there. And sometimes it's just the way I talk. And that's my problem. Bye-bye.